All right, sucker. Who wants to get wet? Who wants to get wet? Oh, hey. How's it going? How's it going? What's going on, everybody? I'm just checking in on you. I am just checking in on you. This is the day where we talk about stocks, specifically one stock that I bought last year, one time, and I just held on tight. So this stock is one that, I talked about it. I think it was like maybe the end of the summer, around August, around this time last year. And it was because some of you guys asked some questions about that. That wasn't a real drink. I was pretending to drink. You can tell, right? You can tell when someone's really drinking. They do that. All right. So somebody said, hey, what do you think about Celsius? And I didn't know about Celsius. I got a YouTube channel. I'm talking about stocks. I don't know Celsius. I don't even know what Celsius was. But you know what? Because you guys asked, because I'm here for you, and I want to answer your questions. Because I always say, leave me a question in the comment section, and I'll answer it. So when you say, what do you think about Celsius? So I did a little research, okay? Got a little shovel out. Got the shovel. I did a little digging. And here's what I saw. Because when you asked me, the stock was at about $50 a share. And I said, I looked at that chart, and that thing had been up at like 70 or 80 or 90. I don't know. It was a very expensive stock at one point. And I said, it looks like it still might be kind of expensive. It's been high, it's been way up there, and it looks like it has room to fall. There were different news stories. I won't get into them all, but they caused the stock to fall. And I saw it had been at 60, and now it was like at 50, and I said, I don't know about that. And then I just talked about it, and I did a video, and I said, you know what? Pepsi had a deal with them, and it looked like Pepsi bought a whole bunch of oversupply, like a lot of Celsius, and had it in inventory. And then it was revealed that in upcoming quarters, Celsius's revenues might not be that high because Pepsi's just going to be distributing stuff for them and not buying new stuff. And so that just sent the stock price, way down. But, I took this as an opportunity because in life, we can learn something, or we can just turn the other way and ignore it. But no, that's not what I'm here for. I am not the ignoring investor. No, I am an intuitive investor, and my plan is to learn as much as I can and get an intuitive feeling about whether a business makes sense. Because if the business is solid, if the business is profitable, then over time, as the business makes more and more profits and does better and better, the stock price tends to go up over time. It just makes sense that would happen. So I went and I bought some Celsius. This happens to be my favorite flavor. This is the Celsius, this is Galaxy Vibe right here. I really like this drink, and I started to drink Celsius, and I got some more. This one here is a Arctic Vibe. This is like blue raspberry slush flavor. And the cans I have here are not because I just went out to get them to do this video. It's because I am a loyal Celsius drinker. I like the stuff. I don't drink it every day, but I've got it. I got it in a cabinet over there. When I'm thirsty, I take some of them and I move them over to the fridge and I make them cold. And then once they're cold, then I can drink them. So it was announced later last year, maybe it was early this year, I have to check, but that Celsius bought another drink company. And I went, oh, cool. Tell me about this company. Well, the company is called Alani Nu. There's a can of Alani Nu right there. Boop, right there. This one is Orange Kiss Alani Nu. I have another can here that I like even more because it's a slush flavor, pink slush. Now, the demographics for Alani Nu are different than the demographics for Celsius. If I were to guess, and I don't know for sure, I think Celsius is for men and women, It's for chilling out, relaxing. It's a pre-workout drink. It was marketed for a lot of different things, but basically the active lifestyle, a little extra pep in your day. And I think the Alani Nu is marketed more towards women. I don't know for sure, but I think it was because I don't know. It just has that feel to it. It just has that feel. Now, I will say one thing I really like about Alani Nu is they don't color the drink. So even though it's pink slush flavor, or even though this one here is like cherry twist, my recollection is once you open this up and drink it, it's just clear. And I like that because like I like the flavor of a drink, but I don't want to have like colors in me. I don't need red color or purple color or blue color. It doesn't add to the experience, and you know that can't be any better for our bodies to have artificial colors. So I do like the Alani Nu, maybe just as much as the Celsius. But here's the take-home little message here, is that I thought the price was a little high, and I mentioned that in my video, and then I noticed it came down from 50 to like 40, and I went, this is getting cheaper. And then I just waited because I'm a patient investor too. And then I noticed the stock made it down into the 30s. And I went, you know what? I like the Celsius. I drink the Celsius. I see Celsius all around. People are enjoying this drink. I think this little fear in the market, people wanting to like sell the stock instead of buy, I think it's dramatic. People get over dramatic. They freak out, whatever. I said, I'm going to buy some in the 30s. So that's what I did. I bought some Celsius in the 30s. I didn't talk about it a lot. I don't think I even mentioned it on the channel because who knows, and I'm not an expert on this. It was just an intuition. It was just the intuition that this is a good company because I like the drink. And, if I feel this way, maybe other people feel this way. So all this brings us back to Friday, just this last Friday. I noticed that the stock was up like 5%. And I was like, wow, that's a lot because a lot of other stocks were down on Friday. Most of the market was down. But this happened to be the 29th day of August, 2025. So I went over to ChatGPT and I said, hey, ChatGPT, what's going on? Celsius went up big time, but I didn't see an earnings announcement because the earnings were already happened. So what's going on? And ChatGPT went out into the web and it pulled back some information. And it said it wasn't an earnings release that sparked today's move. Instead, Celsius soared on news of a strategic deal with PepsiCo. This is new information to me, a new deal. Pepsi is investing $585 million in newly issued convertible preferred shares of Celsius, boosting their ownership stake to 11%. So Pepsi is now buying more of Celsius, which is good news because that means they are now owned by a very solid, larger company that has confidence in Celsius. Then, as part of the deal, Pepsi will distribute Celsius's Alani Nu brand in the US and Canada. So now all of these drinks, all of these Alani Nus, not actually the ones in my house here, but all of these beverages made by Alani Nu are going to have Pepsi's marketing and distribution channels behind it. So people like me who never heard of Alani Nu, I never knew of Nu, all of a sudden they are going to know about Nu because Pepsi is getting behind advertising this stuff in the United States and in Canada. So you're going to see a lot more of these in stores. That is really good because, and again, I'm going to have to look at this, but Celsius bought Alani Nu recently. So now Pepsi is basically saying, get on my back. Don't worry about this. I got you. I'm going to help distribute this stuff in the US and in Canada. So as part of that deal I just mentioned, Celsius will distribute Alani Nu in the US and Canada. And Celsius, now listen up, Celsius has acquired the rights to distribute Rockstar Energy in the same markets. So Pepsi is distributing Alani Nu in US and Canada, and Celsius is distributing Rockstar energy drink in the US and in Canada. So this is kind of both companies are helping each other, and Pepsi has just bought an 11% stake in Celsius. Following the announcement, Celsius stock jumped between 4% and as much as 11%, depending on the timing, blah, 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 blah. Why this matters. This deal isn't just about the capital infusion. It's a strategic expansion of the partnership between Celsius and Pepsi. Pepsi gains more influence, including the right to nominate additional board members, solidifying its alignment with Celsius going forward. And Celsius gains stronger control over brand execution. Why did the stock go up so much on Friday? Part was the announcement of this deal, but what about the earnings? Did earnings have anything to do with it? No, because earnings were released August 7th of 2025. It was a few weeks ago. So that wasn't anything new, but their earnings were a blowout second quarter. Stellar financial metrics for Celsius, okay? They delivered a really powerful earnings beat, significantly outperforming expectations. Their revenue soared 83.9% year over year. They reached $739.3 million versus the $632 million that analysts had expected. So they essentially earned more than $100 million more than analysts thought that they would. And so that was kind of the 1-2 punch. They did really well, which caused their stock to go up early in August. And then they announced the strategic partnership with Pepsi, which also helped them more. So I'm just taking a look here because I'm a curious kind of guy and I like to know what is going on. Celsius Holdings, I'm just going to take a look at the year-to-date chart. Now, I didn't know this when I flipped open my phone just now to check the chart, but Celsius is up 134.86%. Let's round that up. 135% this year. And we're just like 9 months done, right? No, 8 months done. We're just at the end of August. Today's the 31st of August. So 8 months into the year, it's up 134%. And I think part of the reason for this incredible growth was this stock got smacked. And I can get some numbers to put to this. Last year in the spring, this is in May of 2024, Celsius was selling for $95 a share, okay? Then it came down, and when one of you guys asked me about this on the YouTube channel, you know, what do you think about Celsius? It was down around 50 or 60, so it had come down a lot. And I was just looking at this like steep drop. This looked like one of those videos you see online where somebody like cliff dives like off that cliff. And I was like, oh, this stock is diving off a cliff. I do not want to try to catch it. Anyway, not at 60 and not at 50. And then I watched it pass through 40. But once it got into the 30s, I said, you know what? I like the drink. I like the business. And I want to own the stock. And that's what I did. So that thing fell. And it fell hard. It fell far. It fell from the 95 level down into the 20s. That's a big drop. And I think what we're seeing this year is that the market overreacted. That happens all the time. So what's the take-home lesson here? I think the great take-home lesson here is if there's a company that you like, if you're a customer, if you see your friends and your neighbors and people in your family like the drink. And by the way, like I went down to Portland a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, stayed at Airbnb, and I went, you know, when we were leaving, I went and recycled some of our stuff, you know, our cans and our paper stuff, put it in there, put the Airbnb people's recycle bin so they wouldn't have to do it for us. And when I went to put the recycling in the recycle bin, opened it up, put our stuff in, I noticed empty cans of Celsius. Our Airbnb host over in Portland, Oregon is drinking Celsius. So like, I know that sounds funny, like I'm not gonna go and buy stock because of that, but it just goes to show like you start noticing things. And my intuition is like, yes, I'm not the only one who likes this drink. Other people like Celsius, including my host at Airbnb. Those are my thoughts about Celsius. Leave your thoughts, ideas, or opinions in the comment section below. It always generates an interesting dialogue. Thank you so much for being here. If you like stocks, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, please subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. And if you haven't yet liked this video formally, don't be shy, hit the little like button, and I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.